to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret and undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines here in Denver, Colorado. Here we speak the truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God. Now, without further ado, our hosts of the Hispanic Patriot, Nicholas Razzo and Hugo Chavez-Ray. Give it up for Nick and Hugo.
Yeah, the boomer and the millennial are back.
You know it.
All right. Hey, welcome, everyone. We have a great show tonight with a really special guest, one of our fellow patriots who endured some tough times related to the J6 event. So we're going to be having him on in just a couple minutes. But before we do that, I want to make sure everyone is tuned in and make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to our website, support this cause because we're trying to get the truth out, and we need you to support us. So do that right now. We're going to go ahead and start with this one story that I wanted to touch base upon, which is about the Columbia student protests. The mayor of New York, Eric Adams, basically announced, I think it was today or yesterday, that he's just now realizing that there's outside agitators involved in this protest taking place in New York at Columbia University. If you watched any of the news last night, you saw live action where the NYPD special unit stormed the building that they had taken control of, and they basically went in and took them out and put them on buses. But the sad thing about this whole thing is that they got arrested, they got booked, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were out within 2 hours after they got booked. So because of New York's no bail laws, of course. They process them, they allegedly book them and charge them, and then they just let them go. So guess what happened this morning? All the tent people returned back to Columbia, and they're setting up camp again. So this is the kind of stuff that boils my blood, because as we know, our guest coming on is about the January 6th protests, and the resources and the fervor with which they went after all of these patriots who basically were just fed up with the federal government and what was going on. They went after them with the full force of the law. Yet these people who are taking control of a university campus, tearing down American flags and hoisting up Palestinian flags on American soil, they're treated differently. They're not treated the same way. They're not being held without bail in what amounts to somewhat dungeons. Our guest will be able to tell us a little bit more about that. But it's a double standard, and I'm fed up with it. I don't know about you, Nick, but I just can't.
It's because where we come from. We have. I think John F. Kennedy said it best: is that we have no need as Americans for secret courts and secret societies. We have these double standards because, let's be honest, these people have a club, and if you're not in it, then you don't get the same protection. And we oppose that. We want true equality. They're all about equality. Well, let's have some equality under the law. That's what this country was founded on, so that everybody knows that they're on an even playing field. No, we do not know that right now, and that is a dang tragedy.
It's supposed to be equal protection for everyone under the law, regardless of your political status, regardless of your economic status, regardless of your race, your religion, or anything else. Absolutely. The law is supposed to be equal across the board. Unfortunately, that's not the case. As
we rebel against lies. That's the biggest thing. We rebel against lies.
That's correct. All right, so we want to go into this segment because I was introduced to this gentleman through a friend of mine in Colorado Springs, Ivy Lou, who alerted me to his story, and I was immediately drawn to it. I managed to connect with him, talk to him. His name is Tom Hamner. He's from Colorado Springs, and he is one of the J6 defendants. He actually was arrested, prosecuted, and served time, and he was released in this past December, if I'm not mistaken, after serving about 24 months. And to me, this is a travesty of justice, and he's not alone, of course. We've had some J6 defendants who are no longer with us. In addition to, of course, Ashley Babbitt, who was killed on site, and the guy that killed her never faced any justice of any kind. To me, that was just pure murder. He had no reason to shoot her. There was no imminent threat to him or the people that he was in the room with. So this is just a disgusting story all around. But I'm glad to bring light to this subject, because I think it's still on the minds of a lot of Americans. And we got a presidential election coming up, and we're, of course, pulling for President Trump to replace the senile fool we have in the White House right now, and hopefully he can start making some changes that will make sense for our nation. So our friend and our guest tonight is Tom Hamner. He is a business owner, small business owner in Colorado Springs, and by the grace of God, his wife was able to save the business and make sure that it stayed afloat while he was incarcerated. So we praise God for that. And without further ado, I don't want to take his glory too much, but I want to make sure we bring Tom in properly and welcome him to the Hispanic Patriot. So Tom, welcome to the Hispanic Patriot podcast. We welcome you, and we're excited to hear about your story and talk about it. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and give us a little background about.
Well, my name's Tom Hamner, and I'm a Colorado resident, a transplant, but I love it here. I'm a small business owner. I've got a wonderful family and a beautiful wife who's my warrior princess, which is who I was just tracking with my eyes in the room. Anyhow, so my story with January 6th starts January 6th. It was a great day. I mean, there was some overcast. It was chilly. You were dressed for the event. There was thousands upon thousands of people everywhere. And it was a real show of unity as far as America's concerned. I mean, you've got a lot of people showing up to the same place for a lot of the same reasons. I think it all has to do with corruption in our government, but we are all there to do what is guaranteed by our First Amendment, and that's to gather, to be organized, and to have our voices heard and our grievances redressed, which is what everybody was there to do. However, I don't believe that that's anything of what the outcome was for a lot of us.
Right.
There's a lot of people that they haven't had any problems with the FBI, and boy, God bless them, because they really don't want to deal with this crap. It really is. It's just a big pile of garbage what they've done. What started out as a peaceful day with a lot of different people coming together. I had conversations with 50, 60 different people, and all of them were in high spirits. Everybody was really pumped with good energy. There wasn't any bad energy floating in the air that day at all.
So were you at the Trump speech?
Yes.
At the monument?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the conversations happened, because as the crowd got bigger and bigger, and you become more cramped together, you find yourself talking to people, and everybody was wearing something that sparked a conversation. Mine happened to be my ugly Christmas sweater that the guns don't kill people, Clintons do statement on it drew a lot of
That's
there was plenty of conversation and laughs about that particular sweater. But yeah, the speech, all the people that spoke in front of President Trump were, they were jazzed. They were full of information. They had a good message. It was received really well throughout the crowd. You could tell by the cheers and the uproars of joy, as people stated their grievances on stage in front of Trump. And then Trump came out, and he's always really solid. He may say a lot of the same things, but a lot of those same things, they're what matter to us. And if you love this country, you don't mind hearing those things over and over again. I mean, it's nice to see some of that stuff getting done.
I've had the opportunity to be at several of President Trump's rallies, so I'm aware of what you're talking about. How close did you get to the stage? Were you fairly close, or?
No, I was a good 100 yards or so away from it. It was so packed, and I'm such the people person that I wasn't concerned about getting to the stage. I was just concerned about talking with as many people as I could.
But you had good sound there.
Oh, it was great. It was great. You could hear that for miles, I'm sure. I mean, they had that set up. So, coming to the end of the speech, I left a little bit early because with all the different stuff that's happened from different, just college events, planned get-togethers of just patriots, not even where Trump was having a rally, but just all the things that had happened after, for example, my wife and I being in DC the prior November for the freedom plot, for the march to the Supreme Court. And there was, bad actors after the event. So, I went there to DC wondering what was in store based on my experience before. And so I went as prepared as I could possibly be, not to do anything that was going to cause anybody any grief or injury, but
just
to
precaution,
protect myself as best I could, and maybe offer any help or support to anybody who might have been injured that's around me. So I left the speech a little bit early before his final closing remarks, but I managed to walk down, by myself to the Capitol, to the back of the Capitol, and there was a decent group of people already there, not hundreds, maybe 60, 70 people. And a couple of them were listening to the end of the speech, and I kind of gathered around them to hear out Trump's closing remarks. And that's when I knew that everybody had been invited to the Capitol to peacefully protest and make our voices be heard. I think that's the national model, is peacefully protest. It comes in many different forms, peaceful and not. So that's where I ended up. I was already there. As people started to fill in, I was looking at the back of the Capitol. There's a police line. They were, spaced out in a really random line, 20, 30 feet apart, and about probably 20 yards away from where the crowd was starting to gather. And it was about the time a lady's child was on the wall, and that prompted an officer to jog over and tell the crowd that nobody was allowed on the wall. And at that time I was like, well, screw that. I'm going to jump up on the wall and see if he says anything to me, which he didn't. And that's about the time that we all started to, make our way to the Capitol. I had noticed a Trump flag heading up the sidewalk down the way towards the back of the Capitol. And I turned and yelled at people to come on, let's go. And I started helping them up the wall and making our way to the back of the Capitol.
So before you go any further, I wanted to just touch base real quick. Tell us about the part where President Trump told everybody to storm the Capitol.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, that didn't happen.
That's you'll have to find that broadcast from CNN. I don't think that happened here. Yeah, nobody was told to storm the Capitol, and you see a lot of the beginning videos of people running. They're running to the Capitol. They were excited. They weren't running there to hurt people or destroy anything or vandalize. The Capitol is something I think a lot of Americans are very prideful about. But that day, I think a lot of people had a different image at the end of the day that were there about what that Capitol actually represents.
Well, it's the people's house. Is that you can't keep the people from the people's house.
Right. And I think that a lot of people got a little bit disgusted as to how the people were treated at the people's house.
Yeah.
You know, my experience just being on the Capitol grounds was jumping up and down like I had scored a touchdown with this other fella and cheering, you know, high-fiving each other. I mean, and then the guy goes down with a taser just for jumping up and high-fiving me. And right before that happened, there was a report, which was, I believe, one of the first rounds of rubber bullets that got shot into the area that I was in, which I happened to see some blood splatter on the ground. And then that guy falls who had been hit with the taser. And I put 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, oh, did this guy just get shot? Like, what just happened? You know, I couldn't wrap
anything could have been happening at that point. Yeah.
Anything could have happened right then. So I went to assist the guy on the ground, and I didn't have my gloves on to you know, protect my hands, and the jolt from the taser transferred through to me, and that's when I let go of him, and I looked up to see, you know, the police officer with his hand, you know, engaged in the trigger, and the look on his face like he just wanted injury to. He just looked very upset and mad, like this guy's getting what he's getting. And then another officer came out from behind him with his taser trained on me, and I looked at the guy and I was like, there's no way he's going to shoot me. I'm like, I'm not being aggressive or advancing or anything. But sure enough, he shot me in the legs with the taser after, you know, figuring out where my weak point might be. And the pants I was wearing didn't allow the barbs to make connection with my skin. So I pulled the wires off the barbs and I threw them back his way. And my wife and I, you know, we had talked about me being safe while I was out there. And I decided at that point, maybe I should probably make my way off Capitol grounds. But the amount of people coming towards the Capitol, it was better just to stay in place and slowly move forward as people filled in. So that's what I did, because I was really only about 20 yards away from the back of the wall of the Capitol, maybe 15 yards where all this happened. And so I just hung out. I mean, there were so many of us. I was like, if I get hurt that bad, somebody's going to help me out, right? You know, that's what I was thinking, or maybe I can stick around and be helpful to somebody else. But right after that happened, that's where, you know, the assault on the people really started to take place, because they didn't have those barricades set up. They ran up with those barricades and they ran right into the first line of people that they saw in front of them. And they did this over and over again with the barricades. And, you know, when you get hit with something like that, it usually starts to knock you off your balance. So a lot of times you'd see a tug of war ensue right after the crowd gets hit with that, because they get knocked off balance. They grab a hold of it. It becomes a tug of war. And usually we would win the tug of war and it would go out of the crowd. We didn't use it to hurt the police or assault anybody else. We got rid of it. It left the crowd. It was gone. That went on for the longest time.
I'm curious about if you noticed any unusual activity from certain individuals that I've read about regarding, I guess the best way to describe them would be outside agitators or paid agitators, people that were trying to incite the crowd to do things that they weren't, you know, probably there to do. Did you see any of that?
So there was one person I distinctly remember, because he put his hands on me and pushed me to the front of the line, telling me that I needed to be up there since that I had gear on. And that was Ray Epps. And then there was the other fellow who you encountered Ray Epps? Yeah. He literally pushed me from behind, telling me I was all geared up, pushed me up to the front of the line.
Oh man, what a busy boy he was.
Yeah, and when I turned around to tell him, to get his hands off me, and that's what I saw. You know, I was like, oh shit, he looks, you know, maybe he's just really, you know, worried or concerned about something. But I didn't put two and two together until I saw pictures of him later on, months and months down the road, where I saw pictures of who Ray Epps was, and I was like, well, that looks just like the guy that pushed me up through the crowd. And then as I watched more and more video that I've had shared with me, he's right in my 20 square foot box, so, but, that there wasn't a lot of people right there. He was the only one. And then there was a guy on the bullhorn yelling at everybody to hold the line and push forward and stuff of that nature, which I never really saw. There were so many people with bullhorns. I don't know exactly what guy with what bullhorn was saying that, because that wasn't something that was really drawing my attention. What was drawing my attention was the amount of people from all ages, from 16 to 85, and the fact that it didn't matter who was in front of the police. When they decided that it was time to assault somebody, they swung their baton or sprayed somebody in the face with the pepper spray. Soon we encountered those, I guess they're like flashbang grenades. They would just explode in the middle of the crowd, like deafening you. The brightness would blind you for a little bit. But it was it was an incredible day, man. Even with all the bad stuff happening by the Capitol Police and the Metro Police, people were still, responding with, that's not what we're here for. Anybody that was being aggressive, they would be reminded that that's not the way that we're rolling today.
So did you ever did you remain outside the whole time, or did you ever enter the Capitol?
No, I was outside the whole entire time. Never once did I get inside the building.
Okay. How close to the entrance did you get?
About 15 to 20 yards. Okay.
And did you witness any of the people that were like breaking windows and doing other things like that, trying to?
So the two individuals that were being aggressive and abusive in the back of the Capitol, there's a few of them where you'll see people pull them away from the Capitol and kind of manhandle them, back in through the crowd. I saw that happen on two different occasions with people, pounding on the windows from where they were, and other people would pull them away. Really, the assaults that I witnessed happened at the barricades with the batons and basically the flashbang grenades. All the stuff that happened in the hall, the tunnel going into the Capitol, I was never in a good vantage point to like see into it.
Right.
I did get to a spot where I could see the front of it and, kind of see the interaction going on there. And, just like down in the area I was, it just seemed to be that it would start to calm down, and then all of a sudden there would be another volley of some sort of aggression from the police line, whether it was push the barricade into the crowd, spray them with the pepper spray, or launch those flash grenades into the crowd. And I think they even started launching canisters of mace or something. There was a different chemical that was like a gas that one was really bad.
So at what point did the part about the Capitol Police or other law enforcement standing around the entrance and just ushering people in, did you witness any of that?
So that's on the front of the Capitol. On the back of the Capitol, they don't have any public entrance like that. They just have that tunnel.
Okay.
They have the tunnel right there.
Did you see a lot less media attention in the back of the Capitol? Because we get a lot of impression from that front that there was this sort of pushing of the crowd in by the police into the Capitol and this sort of thing. But it sounds like this was the real nitty gritty in the back there, where it was. Did you notice that it was a bit of a difference between whether the cameras were on or not kind of situation?
So from what I've seen video-wise, the front was an open door. The back was kind of like a mosh pit.
You'd think it would be the opposite if the police were so-called, worried about something or whatever have you.
Well, you'd think that they'd probably try and do some sort of crowd control rather than antagonize the crowd with just about everything that.
And that they only did that crowd control on you guys in one direction. It's interesting. Interesting is the word for it.
So how long was it before you decided to exit the area?
It was probably 4:30, 4:45 when I finally left the Capitol. I was there from I think just before 1 o'clock, all the way till about 4:30, 4:45.
All right.
Watching.
That's not very long at all, to be honest.
So did you leave Washington that same day, or did you stay overnight?
The next morning. The next
next
morning. Yeah.
Okay. So fast forward a little bit to you coming home, and then when was it that was it the FBI that came to see you, or who arrested you?
So got home, shared with my wife the monumental event and how happy and thankful I was that I was able to go. And she's like, "Don't post anything on social media." That's all. Those were her words of advice.
Wow.
Good words.
You got a smart wife, Tom.
Got a smart wife. Yeah. So what do? Don't post. It's about August, September, and I'm like, I'm gonna put one post on the internet, and that was a post of me standing next to one of those cardboard life-size posters of Trump. I took a picture next to him with my thumbs up. Anyways, I decided to post that and on Telegram, and then a couple months later, we fast forward to November 9th, 2021, and the FBI surrounds me and arrests me with the Colorado Springs Police Department's assistance in downtown Colorado Springs. Basically, I was just leaving my client's office, the Salvation Army, with an insurance report.
Oh, so man, that's a real shame right there.
They had you under surveillance then.
Yeah. Apparently, they had my shop surrounded, and they were disappointed when I didn't go directly to my shop that morning. So they apprehended me somewhere else.
Okay. And
so did they try to contact you anytime before that, or was that that was your introduction?
That was my introduction. I mean, they didn't call. We had no idea this was coming. None was.
They didn't call and say we want to interview you or anything like that.
That's standard procedure right there. That's the fact that didn't happen. Like we said, interesting.
They just jumped to the arrest port.
Yeah, straight to the arrest. And
what exactly did the arresting person say to you?
That I was under arrest for
the usual spiel
for a warrant having to do with the Capitol riot, were the words they used.
Did he tell you what you were being charged with?
No, they rushed me straight to the. As soon as they got me in the car, it was 90 to 100 miles per hour up the interstate to Denver, Colorado. So
sounds like some Gestapo stuff right there.
Yeah, so I could get in front of a federal judge and be deemed some of my fate.
Okay, so you got arrested. They took you before a judge immediately.
Immediately, within 55 minutes, I was. Yeah, no phone call, nothing to my wife or anybody. It was about 55 minutes it took to get to the federal courthouse, and I was in the holding tank.
Okay.
Wow.
And did you have an attorney at that presentation, or?
I had a what was that? Was that a
public defender?
Yeah, public pretender.
Public pretender.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, did the attorney they assigned you have any kind of conversation with you before the appearance?
Not really. Just that she was going to help me, understand what was going on. She actually seemed to put up more of a fight than any of the people we paid.
Oh man.
Yeah,
she was trying to send me home. Yeah, but
okay. So at the appearance, did they well, let me back up a little bit. Did they ever read you your rights?
Yeah, they gave me my rights when I was in the holding area.
Okay.
Prior to that, I basically told them to kick rocks.
But not when they arrested you?
No. I wasn't having anything to say to them when they arrested me, except that they were dirtbags.
Call that natural human reaction is what we call it.
Yeah, I mean, I just told them that they could do a little bit better.
So So I have to ask. This is intriguing to me. You obviously saw this coming. Like when it happened, it's November, so you're seeing the news. You're seeing people get blasted down. You weren't expecting it, but it sounds like you knew pretty quickly what was happening.
Well, yeah. Once they announced, see, they told me I was under arrest for a warrant, and that's all they said. And I dropped my hands and I said, "You got the wrong guy."
Huh.
And they said, "No, mother effort. This is a warrant for the Capitol riot on January 6th. Get your hands in the air." I was like, "Yeah, ooh, I'm guilty." Yeah, I was there. And so that's, I didn't know that this was coming. Did I have a suspicion? Real far back in my mind, to tell you the truth. Real far back in my mind.
More of a possibility than a suspicion, but it's like, oh wow.
Yeah.
So you really were ambushed.
I thought I was like in the not going to get touched category. I really did. Because I didn't
You didn't even enter the building.
I didn't assault anybody. I didn't go into the building. I was like, I'm clear. Like, there's no way they're coming after me because I didn't assault anybody. But I did assault somebody through touching a sign that was then grabbed by the police line and hauled away from the crowd. So that's where they based my charges of assault on a peace officer and civil disorder.
Okay, so at the appearance,
Mm-hmm.
they gave you they told you the charges at the appearance?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened after the appearance? Did they say did they assign bail to you or
Nope. No bail.
No bail.
No
Okay.
bail. No nada. Just go to jail card.
So what happened after the appearance?
Then I was driven down to Castle Rock's sheriff's facility there, where I was held for 2 months before I got flown out to Orange, Virginia.
Douglas County Jail?
Yeah. Huh?
The Douglas County Jail?
The Douglas County Jail, yeah.
Okay.
No visitation. They wanted, it was the whole COVID thing. Didn't even get visits with my attorney.
So this is
Wow.
let's see, January 6th, 2021.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So now we're at November 9th.
And you got arrested in November of 2021.
Yep.
Okay. So then they take you to DC jail, Douglas County Jail, and then after 2 months they transferred you to Virginia.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yep. All right. And what facility is that?
It's Orange, Virginia. It's this little redneck town. Perfect for a J6er, because there's a handful of people that believed and supported us versus didn't. So I was really lucky to hit the places that I did. Castle Rock happens to be a pretty conservative area, so right. I was lucky with that. Orange, Virginia happened to be a pretty conservative area, so we were blessed with that. But that's where I spent all my time, 14 and a half months was in Orange, Virginia, fighting the case.
Okay, so when were you actually at trial?
That was September. Was it September? No. May or June of 23, right? 22.
Okay. 22
would be the following year.
Yeah, 22, yeah.
So November you're arrested, 2 months in Douglas County. They transfer you to Virginia, and then in May of that year.
Oh, you said 14 months, so you were there for.
Yeah, I was there all
23.
Through,
yeah, dang.
Yeah, I was there all through 2022.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, all right. So,
but the conviction, I pled. So they wanted to charge me with the assault because it carried the most time. my attorney said that they have only limited evidence and they can't use the evidence on both charges. So the evidence backs up what would be considered a civil disorder. So let's plead guilty to the civil disorder. And that's what I went in and did, was I pled to the lesser charge that they weren't trying to get a conviction on. But the evidence didn't support the first indictment. So I pled down to that and was sentenced to 30 months with a max of 60, and then 3 years of formal supervised federal probation.
For civil disorder?
Man.
For civil disorder, yeah.
Man.
Is that a normal sentence for that offense? It sounds more like disorderly conduct than in a county facility.
Yeah, it's like getting into a bar fight or something like that. That's really legally what that is on the level of.
Okay, something I need to know, or I want to know, is did anybody ever utter the word insurrection to you?
Not that wasn't on a TV.
Okay, so nobody ever said you are an insurrectionist.
No, not directly to my face.
Funny how that works.
Okay. All right. So you get sentenced, and then where did they take you after sentencing?
To Florence, Colorado, the federal penitentiary up there in the mountains.
You were in the Supermax?
No. I was in the medium yard.
Oh,
okay. Well,
okay.
Supermax.
Thank God for that, at least.
Yeah, Supermax was right next door.
Okay,
goodness.
so you didn't.
They probably wanted to put us there, but I don't think they could.
You didn't get to see Noriega or any of those other guys.
Chapo? No, I didn't get to see him.
It's Chapo.
He was tunneling out. No.
So
he got out before you did.
Probably.
So you
So
got
14.5 months in Orange, and then 3.5 months up in Florence. And then they kicked me loose to what's called a halfway house, where you're still in custody and they could send you back for any grievance whatsoever. But you do have the freedom to go and, hold a job. Or
that's like what happened to Dinesh D'Souza, actually.
Was the halfway house there in Florence?
No, it was in Denver. It was up there by you guys.
Okay. All right. So so I'm guessing they gave you some time served, right?
Oh, they have to.
They applied to it?
Yeah.
To the sentence?
Yep.
Because by the time you got sentenced, it sounds like you'd already been in for like 15 months.
Yeah. So I think 19 months.
19 months.
When I got sentenced, I was in for about 7-8 months.
And under federal guidelines, now I'm dating myself, but I mean, it used to be federal guidelines. You had to serve at least 40% of your sentence. I've read recently that now that's been up to about 50%.
85%.
85.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they sentenced you to 30 months. So you served a total of 24 from what you told me?
26.5.
26? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when they released you, are you on any sort of probation or parole?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I'm on 3 years of federal probation. And then they released me to the halfway house. December 26th, I was released back home. And it was I was told that I had to go back to court in February of this year to plead guilty to the assault charges, but with no jail time, and another 3 year of federal probation. So,
oh my God! So you're sitting.
Yes.
So you're sitting. Is it concurrent or in addition to?
Concurrent.
Okay.
It's all concurrent. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So all this is going on, and let's back up to February of 2023. So I'm incarcerated for January 6th. My wife's running all the businesses. She's keeping the kids, going in school. She's everything. And she decides to go out. This is one a real important part of the story is. So January 6th got me. My family's doing okay. Then my daughter has a mental crisis in Tennessee, and her and mom are separated. Mom ends up in jail over this. Daughter ends up in CPS custody. So in February, I call my wife the next morning after I get up, and I'm still in federal prison, and she doesn't answer. And I was a little bit worried. And a couple hours go by, and she does answer, and she tells me that she just got bailed out of jail. And she tells me the story that when you're in a place where I'm at, the last thing you want to hear is that your wife just went to jail, and our daughter was taken away, and she doesn't have our daughter back yet. And so that was in February of 2023. Then I come out in March. Our daughter's still not back. I'm going through the halfway house process. I can't leave the state. I can't do anything except go back to that halfway house, go to work, go to the halfway house. And my wife is, dealing with now by herself, basically, because I can't do anything except go to work and go back to the halfway house. She is now completely submerged in fighting for our daughter any way that she can to get her back. So her husband just gets released into a halfway house. He's almost home. Daughter's been taken away. Our whole world was already tossed upside down, and it was being held together, as best as possible with what she knew how to do. But then your daughter gets taken from you, and there's nothing you can do to get her back. And so it's like this big mishmash of emotion where we're grateful that I'm home, but we're devastated that our daughter is in CPS custody and going through some really hard times. So, that's kind of where this story leads, is it leads into how I've been returned to the home, but my daughter's still held hostage in her plight. So the government has they've really gone off the rails as far as the state governments, and we're witnessing that because Colorado's not doing anything to help us as residents with our daughter. Colorado didn't do a damn thing for me with the January 6th thing. All the state representatives went hush, hush, hide. We're not going to touch that. And so, between January 6th and our daughter, the amount of civil liberty that's been destructed and the two-tiered justice system that you opened up with and that I've experienced firsthand, my wife is experiencing with our daughter, we're experiencing the whole realm of what no oversight and giving somebody too much control can produce, and we're living it, and it's really disgusting that
It is. It absolutely is, because the justice system is not just a bureaucratic checklist. It's about keeping families safe and together, not destroying their mental health, not breaking them apart. That's part of the big reason why we have a state in the first place, why we have state representation, to say, look, this is one of our citizens. We don't appreciate you doing this, to be an advocate, not just play a political game around it. This is about families staying together. We talk about them being the backbone of our country, but if we're not protecting them, we're snapping that backbone right in half, letting it happen.
So let me ask you this. Did any federal elected officials contact you, or did you have any contact with them?
No. I will say that recently, since I've been back, I've been very proactive in getting involved with the state and county assembly election process, going out and speaking, about January 6th, the real story, teaming up with my wife and doing interviews so that we can share the whole view, that it's not just our story just doesn't end at January 6th. I think that that's just the beginning. Our story doesn't even end with our daughter coming home. That's just the beginning. Our journey right now is about exposing just how corrupt the agencies are at a state level, because we all know now at a federal level that they're just screwed. They're a bunch of screwballs. However, I think it's time that, as this, now that people's eyes are open and their minds are a little fresher with information, and they're starting to look at things a little bit differently, and they're starting to look for different sources for that information, I think that it's important right now to really expose, bring forth all the information about January 6th, our situation with our daughter and how she was taken from us, illegally, all the things that aren't being done to help citizens of this great country and this great state to, reunite with their 14-year-old daughter. I think this is a good time for us all to really take a step back and say, well, what can I do? How can I help? Where is it that I can fit in? Because 10 minutes of you take 1 million people and you get 10 minutes of their time doing something, you can make a big movement with that little bit of time and enough people. Yeah. And I think that's where we are right now as a nation is we're awake to the federal bureaucracy of corruption. And I think it's time that we take a little bit closer look and we start looking at our states. I mean,
that's where it all starts.
Colorado alone is, we've got a long ways to go to right this ship, but we can do it if we don't all have to agree. We just all have to get on board.
There it is.
Well, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me when I first had this brainstorm for the Hispanic Patriot, a friend of mine looked at me and says, "You sure you want to use the word patriot in your podcast?" I said, "You're damn right I do. I'm not shying away from being a patriot. I wasn't born in this country, but I got here as fast as I could. My parents brought me here at the tender age of 7, and I've lived here all my life. And I get a lot of flack from people on social media. They look at my name and they try to make fun of it and do things like that. And when they get me too far, I just say, look, you know what? I'm more American than you are. I believe in this country. I believe in the Constitution. I serve this country proudly in the United States Air Force. And you're not going to take that away from me with your stupid, insults and backhanded attempt to try to minimalize me. You picked the wrong guy to do that to. Right. I'm no wallflower.
It's true. We've never been. And Tom, it sounds like the same thing with you. Is that really, let's be honest about it. You really were a bystander to a political protest. That's really all that happened. Yeah. And if we want to look at, I always tell people, don't just look at the simple, look at the advanced. Let's look at the advanced situation. That's all it was. When you boil it down, the advanced situation is they wanted this to never happen again. And so what do tyrants do when they don't want something to happen again? They take out people to scare them. Yep. But the problem is that, we're Americans. People don't understand. A lot of American soldiers during the Revolution died in these places called prison barges, decommissioned warships. And they sent our boys in there for years on end, and tens of thousands of them died. That's how tyrants tried before to keep Americans from gaining their freedom. And so they're really denying the history and heritage of this country by reacting to this event how they did. And I remember that there was a video from, I think it was a construction worker who was being allowed in the area. And there was an Army Corps, 30,000 National Guardsmen or something. That's a corps in the military. And they said, if you need an army to protect you from the people who elected you, maybe the people didn't elect you.
Yep.
It's just the truth. I'm from Chicago myself. We know a thing or two about stolen elections. You can feel it. And it's a natural human reaction to be upset when you've been wronged. And all the tyrants of this country want us to be quiet and emotionless in the face of tyranny. Emotion is not violence. Emotion is life and passion. And that's what America is. We have a class of people run this country without emotion, without feeling. I have a feeling a lot of them are probably on a lot of drugs too, but that's a different question. Medication, we call it. And it dulls the senses. It dulls the feelings. And they can't handle when passionate people with virtue and freedom stand up, not even stand up to them, but just stand up proudly, happily with their family. So God bless you and your family, sir, to keep your family together through all of this. A man's family is the greatest indication of their character. And well, sir, it looks like you're a man of character.
So I want to segue real quick before I want to just ask you what your thoughts are about a potential Trump presidency and potential pardons that may be coming along. Because I have a feeling that he's going to pardon a whole bunch of the J6 people. So, and we're praying that you're among that that crowd. He's kind of talked about it, and they've asked him, "Well, are you going to pardon all of them?" And he said, "We're going to take it on a case by case basis." And yours has got to be right up there at the top of the list. So, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm hopeful. I expect it? No. I'm hopeful that it happens. I think my biggest takeaway is the fact that I'm not angry at any of the situations that my wife and I find ourselves in. I think that we've learned, that this is a great opportunity rather than an obstacle. Even though it is an obstacle to get our child back, it's still an opportunity to share with people and unite people and get people to understand that, they have a place in this fight too, whether it's their silent prayers, their, preaching to the choir, whatever it is. Everybody has a spot, even if it's just having a conversation with somebody that doesn't agree with you. I mean, that's where it all starts. We need to stop avoiding each other and start, actively engaging with one another.
Amen.
They've done too much to try and stop us from doing that, but pardon would be great.
Hey, Tom, real quick, I got a question. So do you think that what this horrific ordeal that your daughter's going through, do you think they're connected at all?
I don't know for sure, but I don't doubt it also, because, my daughter openly shares, what's gone on with me, and we're really a transparent family. There's no secrets with us.
It's the way to be.
There's no secrets. And so I'm sure that it may have some bearing on it. Maybe that's why they're all so confused, is because I'm a January 6er. I don't know.
The fact that the possibility even exists is downright wrong, though. It should be very clear. No, these are not connected. But the fact that you can even have to worry about it, that's ridiculous.
Well, this isn't even like this is clear as day that severe, serious corruption taking place behind all this. I mean, there's no question about it now with these testimonies. So when you were at the Capitol on January 6th, did you get a sense? I know we touched on this a little bit earlier. Did you see anything that really, like, what was your overall assessment? Are the rumors true? Like, do you think that whole situation was staged and instigated, and all this conspiracy theory going around? What's your take on all that?
I 100% believe that it was predicted. They had every opportunity to prepare correctly for a crowd of that size, and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just predicted, but do you think it was instigated? Do you think there were people there?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yes,
we know there are people there. There's video evidence.
Yeah, you start watching the videos and you see people pulling people away, telling them to stop doing what they're doing. Pretty evident at that point that there's people that were there with the wrong intention. Now, how they got there, we all have our suspicions. I'm sure that eventually the evidence will come out, and the cuffs can be applied where they need to go.
Well, it's curious to me that Mr. Ray Epps has never been prosecuted.
He did get prosecuted for civil disorder, but he was only sentenced to 8 years or 8 months of probation.
Yeah.
Well, that's ridiculous. Whereas the guy who killed Ashley Babbitt didn't get anything at all.
Oh, Mr. Michael Bird, he's still walking free.
Yep.
And if it's not conspiracy, and I say this, if it's not conspiracy, at the very least, it's convergence. Interests that meld together. They gather together. Hey, this works out. Let's do this. Let's allow this or whatever happened. There doesn't have to be a big shadowy hand behind the curtain. There just has to be a keen set of eyes to let things happen. And that's not what a government's meant to do. Government's meant to protect the people.
That's right. Yeah,
I think there's more to come out about this over.
Yeah, but the powers that be, they could give a shit about the people. That's obvious. I mean,
that's going to change someday.
Like,
we're going to change that someday, peacefully, politically. That will change one day. I'm sure it will.
So, any thoughts on going to the RNC in Milwaukee?
The RNC in Milwaukee, no thoughts about that. But I will say, I will drop this in real quick. If anybody's interested in jumping in and helping out with either the children or the J6 hostages, you can always email us at stoptheagenda@icloud.com.
Okay.
You can always go to americanpatriotrelief.com and you can go on there and make a donation. I do $100 a month to help out the January 6ers. You can adopt a J6er as well on that site. But if you find it in your heart to do anything to help the families and the men and the women that are going through this still to this day, jump on to americanpatriotrelief.com. It's 100%. It's 100%
Tax deductible.
No, not tax deductible, but
it goes right to the source.
All the money goes directly to the
Okay.
January 6th families, commissary, everything. So
That's
what
good.
was that first one that you said too, Tom? I'm going to put it up on the screen here.
stoptheagenda@icloud.com. That one's my wife's for our daughter and exposing the corruption in our CPS and DHS or CPS and child services throughout the states, especially here in Colorado.
We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that up on our website. So,
absolutely. I just want to make one point about the children. A lot of my generation doesn't want to have kids anymore. That's what they talk about. This is one of the reasons, because if your kids can just be taken away on a whim due to petty misunderstandings, why would you even have them? I have friends. Excuse me. I have friends that say that. Say, why would I want to have a kid just to have them get taken away? So the fact that you're doing what you're doing, it's beautiful. We need fathers who aren't afraid when they have their children.
Yeah, we really do.
Absolutely.
Amen.
So, just real quick, what is the current status on your daughter?
So recently, my wife was in Denver at the Capitol, and she was telling her story in the 3 minutes she was allotted to support what is it, HB 227? No.
HB 24-1005.
HB-24-1005. It's the Parental Bill of Rights.
Oh yeah.
That Ken DeGraff brought to the floor.
That's the one that they killed in committee, isn't it?
That's the one they killed in committee.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be brought up too.
So Ken DeGraff has now jumped in and partnered up with my wife to put together some information and letters and get signatures from other representatives along with governors from the different states and go to the state of Tennessee to ask them, when is this going to come to an end?
That's smart. Bring it in one state, bring it to another, better across the country. That's a brilliant idea.
It's been difficult. My wife has spent hours and hours pulling her hair out to try and get people to come on board, and it finally happened. And God really does have a plan. No matter how slow it is, He does have the plan.
Amen.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, Tom, it's been great to have you on. I think we'd love to stay in touch and keep us posted on progress on anything related to your case and your daughter's case. And we're proud to call you a friend and a patriot. And I think anything we can do to help, we'll certainly do our part.
Have my wife on for her so she can talk to you about Lily.
Oh, right. We would love that.
That'd be great. Send us an email on that, and we can certainly schedule her on to have her tell the story about your daughter. And because
she's much better looking and smarter.
That boils my blood there. I can't imagine going through that. But any last words you'd like to tell our audience about you and your family?
No, not anything other than I'm very blessed to have the wife and family that I have, and God is definitely doing what He's doing for us, even though it may not be what we want right this minute. There's a reason behind it, and we'll know soon. we'll know soon.
Yep.
But thank you so much for having me on, and you guys keep fighting the hard fight, because it's not easy in Denver right now.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Nothing
you
good
for
is ever easy.
thank you
That's
for coming on. God
Yeah,
bless
thank you,
you.
Tom.
Yes, thank you
Bless
so
you,
much.
bro.
Thank you, guys.
Great to meet you.
You too. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Tom.
All right. Well,
Brilliant.
that tears my heart up in several ways, and it just boils my blood to think that we have people in our own American
Backyard that are
government
having suffering this. And like you said, yeah, we have all of this to deal with, state level, federal level. We have a lot of work to do. That's all I can tell our audience. We have a lot of work to do.
it reiterates to me why I do this, and I will fight until there's no breath in me. That's I can promise everyone that.
Me as well.
A lot of people may not like some of the things I say or do, but I have the right mindset in all of this, and we have to save America, and
Absolutely.
and we can do our small part. And we urge all our viewers to also not sit on the sideline, get involved, because this is your country too.
Exactly. If his story tells you anything, it's that even bystanders are at risk of tyranny.
Exactly.
Don't be a bystander.
Yep.
Be somebody who is for freedom and
Yep.
truth.
And don't let the fear get you, because as one person once said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Yep.
And that's true, and it applies more today than ever. And
Yes, it
so
does.
we need to fight back against these tyrannical fools that think they're going to take this country from us. Well, I got another thing for them.
We have every right to express ourselves as Americans.
Amen. All right. Well, thank everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Nick, good job again. Peter,
You
thank
as
you
well.
for everything you do. And great.
Yes, please
On
pray
top
for
of this.
them. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. God bless. God bless.